Afterwards Naruto vanishes and appears behind the man and shouts, "Take this, you pervert!" Naruto shouted, surprising the man who tried to turn around only for it to be in vain. Konoha Taijutsu no Ugi, Senin Garashi. Leaf Village Secret Finger Jutsu. 1000 Years of Death. Naruto drives his ki-enhanced fingers into the man's rectum and sent him flying off the tree branch and lands into the women's side of the hot springs. Afterwards, Naruto busted out laughing as he heard the females scream pervert and proceeded to beat the crap out of the man while Goku and Shinran chuckled in amusement, and afterwards, the blonde took off into the forest, leaving the man who was crying out for mercy at the female civilians and some kunoichi who were beating the crap out of him. Right now Naruto was sailing over the open ocean of Lightning Country with his back turned to the water and simply staring at the sky with his hands behind his head, humming before his eyes shot open and stood straight up into the air and looks around. What was that feeling? It felt similar to the chakra from the Sanbi, only it's stronger, and the seems to be another one but is even weaker than the Sanbi's energy signature. He notices a speck far away, and as he used his keen sight, he noticed an island in the middle of the ocean. It's coming from that island. I wonder if it's a residence for the Biju that live in Kaminari no Kuni. Might as well check it out. With that, Naruto zips towards the unknown island.
Naruto. The legendary Saiyan.
Chapter 4. The Monkey, the Cat, and the Bull. Shimagame Turtle Island.
As Naruto flew towards the island, it got bigger and bigger until he saw the jagged rocky edges of the large land mass. The energy signatures are stronger now that I'm so close to the island, Naruto says to himself as he flew over the forest part of the island and descends towards the ground while his aura dissipates. After landing, he walks around the forest in a careful manner since he is in unknown territory. Man, this forest reminds me of the one Anko-chan showed me once when I was 6. He commented before his senses alerted him, and then leapt out of the way as a large appendage swung down at the area he was formerly at.
Naruto landed back onto the ground in a fighting stance to see what it was that attacked him, and his eyes widened as he saw a giant gorilla roaring at him and then rearing back, beating on his chest. "Whoa, now that's something you don't see every day," Naruto commented, and noticed the beast growling at him and then attempt to lunge at him. "Whoa, easy big guy, I'm not looking for trouble," Naruto assures the gorilla, who stops his lung and stared down at Naruto before getting on all fours and leaning down before the sheepish blonde.
Sorry for spooking you like that, buddy. Naruto apologized before the giant ape blinks a few times, and then sniffs Naruto a few times, and notices the monkey tail before scratching the top of his head in confusion. "Ooh, ooh," the giant gorilla grunted out. The names. Naruto, what kind of name would suit you? Naruto pondered in this before smiling. "I know. I'll name you Kong. What do you think?" The Super Saiyan asked the now-named Kong, who pondered on the name before grinning and nodding. "Great, Kong it is then."
Kong grunted in acknowledgement before bringing his fist forward before Naruto and said blonde was confused at the gesture before realizing what he was doing. "Oh, that's your sign of wanting to be friends." Naruto did the same gesture before bumping fists with the large ape, who grunts in an excited fashion until they both heard what sounded like a female screaming. What was that? Naruto wondered before Kong's eyes widened and took off. Hey Kong, wait up!" he cried out before leaping onto a tree branch and hopping from each one before Kong stopped in his tracks and Naruto lands before giant ape. Before their eyes was what appeared to be a female, and from the looks of it was around 14 years old. She had blonde hair and blue eyes that were cat-like with a thin slit in each of them and had a slender build. Her hair was tied into a braided ponytail and her outfit consisted of a gray and white shirt that hugged her body with a pair of black pants and purple sandals, and strapped to her belt was a weapons pouch, and right now she was fighting a giant bear that was standing on its rear legs and bellows at her with a roar before bringing his giant paw at her. The girl manages to leap away as the paw slammed down on the area she was formerly at. She landed down and the bear rushes at her again. The female blonde gets into a fighting stance with her nails extending and turning into claws while a violet blue chakra surrounded her form. She getting prepared to attack only for Naruto to appear over the giant bear's head with his right leg raised and brings it down, delivering a falling axe kick to the bear's skull, knocking him to the ground and causing the area to tremble from the strength behind the attack. The teenage girl's eyes bugged out and her jaw dropped to the ground as she saw the mysterious blonde appear out of nowhere who appeared to be around her age and knock the bear out. Kong clapped his hands with glee as he saw Naruto knock the bear out while the blonde lands back on the ground with his duffel bag slung over his shoulder. "Hope I didn't hit the fella too hard," he muttered before turning his attention to his fellow blonde and wave in a cheerful fashion.
"Yo," Naruto greeted. Before she had a chance to say something, several more bears leapt out of the forest and towards Naruto, who looked up to see the large body masses descend towards his person and land on top of him. The girl's eyes widen in horror as the bears pile on the blonde until something that even she couldn't believe happened.
The 7 giant bears were lifted into the air by one hand courtesy of the golden-haired Super Saiyan. "Sorry fellas, but I don't have time to sumo wrestle with you all," Naruto states to the stumped bears before slowly rising into the air, causing the other two's eyes to widen to the size of dinner plate and point at him as he took off into the air. A few minutes later, Naruto descended back into the area Kong and the girl were in. "Hey, are you alright?" Naruto asked the girl who was simply sputtering and looking at him comically. Naruto blinked a few times before rubbing the back of his head smiling. "I take that's your first time seeing someone fly, right?" Said girl snapped out of her stupor and suddenly appeared in Naruto's personal space. "How in the name of Kami did you do that? The only person who was able to knock out a giant bear of that size was my sensei and his brother, and how can you fly?"
Wouldn't it be better if we introduce ourselves first? Name son. Naruto, but just call me Naruto. The girl blanks a few times before smiling sheepishly.
"Sorry, the name's Yugito ni, so how did you fly anyway?" she asked again, getting a sweat drop from Naruto. Talk about getting straight to the point. Naruto thought. "Well, I learned how to fly from my sensei, and trust me, it's not that easy to learn," he answered before Kong walked towards the two. Yugito then noticed a golden brown appendage swaying behind Naruto's back, which happened to be his tail, which got her attention.
Is that a tail?" an astonished Yugito asked Naruto, who gazed at his tail and nodded.
"Yeah, that's my tail," he answered back as it swayed around some more. "Kawaii," Yugito squealed in her mindscape before realizing something. "Wait, how did you find this island anyway? It's protected by a powerful barrier, and even if you flew here, you would have been detected by your chakra signature," she stated as she looked at Naruto in a suspicious manner. "Oh, this island is surrounded by a barrier because I didn't sense anything emitting from it. Plus I didn't use chakra to fly, I used a different form of energy called Kai," Naruto answered back. "Kai? I've never heard of it. Is it like a Kekkei Genkai?" she asked. "No, like chakra, it's an energy that lies deep within a person, with the difference being that Kai is more versatile and any can awaken it, unlike chakra, which you have to awaken when you're at a certain age," he explained to Yugito. "Aside from that, the reason I'm on the island is because I sensed 2 powerful energy signatures coming from it, and from the looks of it the first one is very close," Naruto said as he looked around the area. Yugito on the other hand tenses up when she heard him say that he sensed the chakra of her tenant, the Nibi no Bakeneko, 2-tailed cat monster, and said Biju's eyes widened as she realized that earlier this boy was the one responsible for that energy output she felt back when the skies darkened. That boy's power is on par with a Biju. I highly doubt that even Yugi-chan could take him on, even if she manages to master my tailed form. Hachibi might be able to inflict some damage, but even then, he'd still lose, she thought. It's gone now, but I can still sense the stronger form of energy, if only slightly. Naruto then looked back at Yugito before realizing something. Hold the phone, Goku-sensei. Earlier when I landed, the energy output from one of the Biju had a secondary energy signature, right? Yep, it sure did, Naruto. I was able to sense the secondary output and Yugito matches it. Goku answered back and Naruto's eyes widened since he knew what this meant.
She's a Jinchuriki just like Mito-chan. Naruto realized. Say Yugito. By any chance are you a vessel? He wondered and noticed her tensing up.
What makes you think I am? She asked with an edged tone in her voice before he brought his hands up.
Whoa. Easy. I'm not gonna attack you or anything, I was just wondering because I can sense a secondary source of energy from within you. He answered back. Yugito looks at him in a skeptic manner before calming down.
To answer your question, yes, I am a vessel. Why are you one as well? She asked the blonde who shook his head.
No. But someone close to me is. He answered as Mito's image appeared in his thoughts. I see. But tell me this, Naruto-kun. She blushed slightly from the suffix she used before shaking it off. What are you doing on the island in the first place? This is a training ground that the ninja from Kumo use, and even then, no one less at the level of a Jonin or Ambu enters the island due to its dangers. She wondered. He was about to say something before his senses went on full alert, and leapt back as a thin double-edged short sword covered in lightning chakra descended past his cheek, slightly nicking the side of his face. What the... Naruto wondered before a vicious clothesline to the chest sent him flying through several trees and the forest.
Rariato lariat, the figure cried out and it landed in front of a surprised Yugito. The person had dark skin and a muscular build, as well as blonde white hair and a goatee. On his right shoulder, he has a tattoo of the kanji for iron, ji, tetsu, and on his left cheek, he has a tattoo of a bull's horn. His top lip also has a slightly darker hue than his bottom one.
Over his eyes were a pair of oval-shaped sunglasses, and a white-colored forehead protector, and wore a one-strap over one shoulder flak jacket, a long red rope belt tied around his waist, standard hand and shin guards, shinobi sandals, and a white scarf around his neck, as well as carried 7 swords on his back.
Take that, Tsurugaki, monkey brat, for no one on assaults the deshi of the all-powerful Hachibi Jinchuriki Kurabi. Killer V rapped as he raised his right arm up doing a hand gesture where his index and pinky finger stuck out in a horn fashion while his middle and ring finger as well as his thumb were curled up in his palm. Yugito managed to snap out of her stupor and then drop kicks the man in the back of his head but doesn't budge from it. Kurabi-sensei, Yubaka, what is wrong with you? Said man turned his head at his mad apprentice with a confused expression on his face. What's the deal, yo? He asked while Yugito's brow twitched. What's the deal? You attacked Naruto-kun for no apparent reason. Do you ever think before you act? Shed yelled at the man who simply scratched his chin with his index finger.
Who the hell is Naruto? He was cut off from his sentence, due to the fact that he was struck across the face by a duffel bag and lands on his back.
I'm Naruto, the Super Saiyan answered as he walked out of the forest completely unharmed, twirling the man's blade in his hand. What the hell's your problem? You just don't go around attacking people for no apparent reason, you bull-headed jerk. Yugito on the other hand sweat dropped at his response as did Nibi. Naruto then simply flicked the blade which landed beside Kurabi with the blade embedded on the ground. Nice sword by the way. Whoever forged it was incredibly skilled and sharpened the blade's edges to the point where it could easily cut through stone. Yugito's sweat drop grew as he said that. Is he serious? Sensei just lariats him through several trees and he walks out of it without a bruise or scratch on him. She thought. B on the other hand sat up rubbing the left side of his face.
Ow! I actually felt that, yo. He threw that bag with just raw strength. This kid is no pushover. Kurabi yelled thought while the Hachibi snorted.
No shit, Baka. If could do that with a simple bag, imagine what he could do if he had thrown a tree at you. The hybrid-tailed beast commented. My bad yo. Didn't know if you were friend or foe, and big bro would have my head if anything had happened to our niece Yugito. Kurabi apologized as he dusted his pants off, not noticing the tick mark appearing on Yugito's head. Naruto blinks owlishly for a few seconds, as did his teachers.
He's an odd one, Shenron commented while Goku chuckles.
I'll say he kinda reminds me of the Grand Kai minus being old and all. Goku replied, and they witnessed the man approaching Naruto and brought his fist forward with a grin on his face.
So are ye cool, ye fool? Kurabi asked. Naruto noticed the gesture was the same one Kong used earlier, and then brought his fist forward as well, and they both tapped knuckles. Yeah, we're cool. So you must contain the stronger of the two Biju, since you did mention the Hachibi, right? Naruto asked the shades-wearing sword user, who nodded with a proud grin on his face.
That's right yo, me and Atho are the dynamic duo of Kumo. He states, not noticing Yugito, who was slumping her shoulders and hanging her head in defeat. Why Cammy? Why do you torment me so? It's bad enough having a short-tempered uncle, but a rapping one at that. She thought with anime tears streaming down her face. The ox cephalopod on the other hand was banging his head on the floor repeatedly. Make the rapping stop. The eight tails wailed in the man's train of thought. Naruto on the other hand simply rubbed the back of his head in confusion and wondered due to the fact that he always ended up meeting the strangest people in his travels. So after that little event, Kurabi decided to head back to his vacation home in the forest and welcomed Naruto to stay as his guest until he decided to leave.
Week later?
Naruto was in the middle of the forest, meditating in the lotus style while Kong was snoring a few feet away from him. He remained calm and relaxed in his state, and that was when Yugito leapt out of the trees and landed in front of him. She frowned when she noticed that he didn't jump out of his state in surprise and huffs before sitting cross-legged in front of him with her arms folded.
Hey Finchi, we see you.
Said Saiyan was chuckling inwardly as he knew the vessel of the two-tailed Neko always tried to go out of her way to try and scare him, but sadly nothing worked. Despite that, throughout the week Naruto and Yugito got to know each other, but only on a friendship level, even though she would blush a little due to the fact that she saw him exercising without a shirt on, and was even shocked beyond belief when she saw him easily outwrestle the giant animals of the forest, especially when he encountered Kong's father King.
The one person that intrigued Naruto the most was mostly Kurabi. Despite his antics, Kurabi was a very powerful ninja, even when he didn't use his partner's powers, and proved by sumo wrestling several bears simultaneously and come out on top. But what impressed Naruto the most was the man's sword style, which consisted of him using several swords that were interlocked around the most bizarre parts of his body. But despite that, he was still able to use this form in a mixture of a defensive and offensive pattern.
He also learned that Yugito was learning to how to fully synchronize with the Nibi in order to use her power at the fullest by not only conquering her dark side and negative feelings but also facing Nibi in her mindscape. Kurabi had to go through the same situation with the Hachibi and in the end succeeded, and therefore had developed a partner for life. Naruto was wondering if it would be possible for Mito to harness the abilities of the vixen on this island, but decided to save that for later.
Kurabi, on the other hand, was beyond impressed with the Super Saiyan in both his skills and personality, and had to admit Naruto was a very intriguing person. What impressed the man the most was his physical strength and his speed, as he had also seen Naruto outmatch the animals in the forest in terms of raw strength rather easily, and knew he wasn't using chakra to supplement his strength. He knew from the way Naruto carried himself that he must have trained extremely hard to gain his current level of speed and strength, and wondered between him and his brother, who would be the better.
So after seeing him train in using 10-ton weights with little effort, he decided that he was gonna test the kid's skill out by the end of the week. Are you sure you want to go through with that, B? Hachibi asked his enthusiastic vessel, who was sitting on his muzzle.
You bet, yo, Kurabi answered back. I figure you would, ya baka, he muttered. Though you have to admit, something about that kid is off, especially his level of strength. Hirabi raised a brow from behind his shades, and looks down at the hybrid.
Such as? Kurabi wondered.
His energy, for one thing. It is similar to chakra, but isn't either. It's a lot more free-flowing and can actually be seen. Human chakra cannot be seen unless it's condensed into a physical form like the Yondam's Rasengan, or the chakra cloak of a vessel. From what I theorize, he's using a more advanced form of energy. It continues to grow the more he trains. Hachibi explained to the rapping ninja.
Well, when you put it that way, the kid's energy signature is odd, but hey, the killer bee is ready for anything, oh yeah. He stated, while Hachibi's sweat drops. If I'm lucky, the Gaki will kill us by accident and I'll be free from this Baka and his accursed Enka. The hybrid thought and prayed.
We see you.
The next day.
A flabbergasted Yugito was looking at Naruto like he had lost his mind. The reason for that is because her sensei Killer Bee had Naruto to a one-on-one fight so that he could measure up the blonde's skills, which Naruto agreed upon instantly due to the fact that he would get to face someone who was possibly even stronger than Yagura was. Naruto, are you nuts? You actually want to fight Kurabi-sensei? Do you want to die? She asked frantically while the young Super Saiyan was doing a few stretches. We're just having a simple spar, Yugito-chan. Besides, if I ever want to get better, I have to face stronger opponents. He stated as he did a few one-armed handstand push-ups. Yugito, on the other hand, still didn't look convinced. But he's the strongest ninja in Kumo, second to his brother, and that's even when he doesn't use the power of the Hachibi. She tried to get through to him. Really? Wow, he must be a real powerhouse then if he doesn't rely on the power of his Biju. Naruto wondered before a grin formed on his face. I can't wait to face him and the Hachibi. Hopefully I'll have to actually try then when I face the Sanbi. He hoped, unaware that Yugito's eyes bugged out when she heard him say he fought and defeated the three-tailed turtle.
You beat a Biju! No way! She shouted in disbelief.
No lie, Yugito-chan. I fought the Sanbi and the vessel and beat them both. He said in an honest tone while rolling his right arm clockwise.
Yugito, on the other hand, blinked a few times and could tell by the look in his eyes that he was telling the truth. So, do you think you could beat the Hachibi? She questioned the young Super Saiyan who was doing a few arm stretches and relaxes his posture. He thinks about it for a few seconds and simply shrugs.
Honestly, I don't know, he answered back to the female blonde. I mean, Sanbi was the only Biju I've fought so far and I have no idea how strong the Hachibi is, but I'm pretty sure he's no pushover, especially if B is his container. Naruto then smiled sheepishly and looked up the sky. But I'm pretty positive I'll have some difficulty fighting the guy, but hey, if he is stronger than me, that just means I'll just have to up my training then.
Yugito was stumped at how jovial Naruto was acting. Anyone who could go toe-to-toe with a Biju and live would have boasted about it, but Naruto was entirely different. She knew firsthand that Naruto was stronger than her even when they sparred during the week, but despite that, Naruto would only encourage her to spar with him more and even complimented her on her progress. Besides, everyone loses in a fight every now and then, so if your sensei does beat me, then it's no big deal. He answered back with a smile on his face. Yugito couldn't help but blink owlishly at Naruto before smiling. You know what? You're okay in my book, Naruto-kun. I mean, most guys would brag about beating either me or Kurabi-sensei, but you are truly a humble person, she said, and lightly punches him in the shoulder.
Thanks. Say your sensei said to meet him in the open field, right? Naruto asked the female blonde, who nodded. Awesome, let's meet him there. He turns around and Yugito jumps on his back, wrapping her arms around his neck and her legs around her waist before he takes off into the air with her squealing in joy.
Meanwhile,
Killer Bee was standing in the middle of the field with his arms folded waiting for Naruto before looking up and sees Naruto landing on the ground with a giggling Yugito on his back. That was awesome. Let's go again. An excited Nibi cheered while Yugito hopped off Naruto's back.
Thanks for the lift. Naruto-kun, no matter how many times I go through this, I just love flying. The blonde Jinchuriki said in an excited tone. Naruto smiled back, and then turned his attention to Bee.
So Bee-san, you ready to rumble? Naruto asked, and his answer was the dark-skinned man grinning and getting into a wrestling stance. Bring it, Tsurugaki. Killer Bee challenged, and Naruto got into his fighting stance as well. The two stared off for a while, waiting for the first person to make the first move. Naruto shifts his feet and flexes his fingers while Bee did the same. Yugito watched the scene and could feel the pressure emitting from the air and couldn't help but feel excited about the battle that was about to start. Both fighters were focused, leaving no form of doubt in their eyes. The staring match ended when Bee grinned and the two suddenly vanished in a blur of speed. Yugito's eyes widened at what happened before hearing a collision occur. She saw both Naruto and Bee in a grappling match with each one trying to overpower the other with raw strength. Both were gritting their teeth as their muscles flexed from the battle of strength. Bee noticed that his heels were digging into the ground as Naruto started to slowly push him back. What the? He's actually pushing Sensei back. A bewildered Yugito thought. Killer Bee grits his teeth as he tries to stop, but then he rears his head back. Hedo-bato, headbutt. He swung his head forward at Naruto, who reacted by letting go of Bee's hands and flipping over him, causing the man to miss and ends up getting struck in the back of the head by Naruto foot. Said Saiyan flips in midair and lands back on the ground while Killer Bee stumbled forward a few times before stopping and rubs the back of his head, turning his gaze at Naruto, who was in the same fighting stance like the one Goku uses, with a smirk on his face.
Looks like I landed the first hit, Naruto stated, getting a smirk from Bee. He held back on that kick. Had he added a little more force, I'd be in La La Land. The rapper thought before vanishing in a burst of speed. Naruto leaned backwards as Bee attempts to lariat him by surprise, and the Yi spins around in order to deliver a reversal roundhouse kick at the Saiyan's head, only for it to phase through Naruto. He raised a brow at this before he ducked as Naruto flies over him with a flying drop kick before landing back onto the ground again.
Yugito was now wide-eyed at what happened. Whoa, earlier he moved at a level of speed so great, he left an after image and I didn't even see his body movement. She whispered to herself. He's so fast. I'll say, only your uncle was capable of moving at such speed, and the same went for the Yondaime Hokage Minato. After he passed on, A became known as the fastest ninja alive. Sure, B may have attained the speed to keep up with him, but A is still faster than him. Nibi explained to her vessel. But there is something different about him, something not of this world. She narrows her eyes in curiosity, wondering about Naruto's scent, which wasn't human at all, nor did he smell like a demon. Naruto then proceeded to sprint towards Killer Bee at an astonishing speed, surprising the man at how fast he was moving. He was about to meet Naruto's charge only for the teenager to phase through him again. What's with all the running, yo? Are we gonna get our fight on or run a marathon? He asked out loud as he looked around for Naruto, but stopped as he felt something land on top of his head.
I'm up here, big guy, Naruto replied with a grin on his face. Bee's brow twitched due to the fact that Naruto was using his head as a stool.
Not cool, yo, using my head as a stool, he shouted. Bee attempts to grab Naruto, who vanished once again and appeared in front of Bee's unprotected form with his arm cocked back and drove it into the man's torso. Yugito's eyes widened as she saw him land a blow on the Kumo Nin's frozen form with a focused look on his face. Bad move, Killer Bee-san, leaving yourself open like that, Naruto chastised in a serious voice while pulling his fist out. While Bee didn't show he was screaming out on the inside at the punch Naruto delivered, and the only show of reaction was a bead of sweat falling from his brow.
Oh sweet Tommy, that hurt. It feels like Big Bro just punched me in the gut just now, yo. he wailed in his mindscape. Stop your belly aching. B. Hachibi chastised before snickering at the jab he used, much to B's irritation before getting serious. You should be thankful for your body's tolerance and durability level, because any other ninja, Jinchuriki or not, would have keeled over from a punch of that magnitude. Besides, the Geki held back on that punch, and for a good reason.
That doesn't make me feel any better, yo. My insides feel like jello and my bones are rattling, and last I checked they don't do that. He stopped his ranting on, pondered on something before grinning. Maybe I should stop fooling around and show the Geki the 8 sword.
Hachibi on the other hand nods in agreement with B. I agree. We don't know the magnitude of this boy's power, especially if he was able to beat the vessel of the Sanbi so easily. The hybrid theorized. I would advise using version 2 of your cloak form if you want to at least land a decent hit on him. Killer grunted in agreement before exiting his mindscape. Right now he let out a breath of air while lightly patting his stomach formed the punch Naruto delivered. I have to say, yo, that was a sweet move you did there. No one short form my brother has ever hit me that hard before. He praised before a serious expression formed on his face. Playtime's over, Naruto. You're about to get a first-hand experience against the 8 sword.
Yugito gasps when she heard this and now is worried. He's gonna use that against Naruto. What is he thinking?
B, on the other hand, grinned as a reddish-brown like chakra started to form around his body. Get ready for the fight of your life, Geki, because I'm about to release the 8 sword, he declared. Naruto watched as a chakra cloak erupted around the man who was grinning, while 8 chakra tails swayed behind him. Naruto's eyes widened as he felt the chakra levels this man possessed. Whoa, he's even stronger than Yagura is in that form. And if his first version is this strong. He watched as the tails formed around him, turning into a dome of chakra before erupting into a burst of energy, and was now in his version 2 form. The version 2 chakra cloak is much darker than version 1, because in this form, B was more muscular, and the chakra was reddish-brown. 2 horns protruded from his head with a black face-like structure, and his eyes glow an eerie white color as did his mouth.
Behold the 8 sword of the Hachibi Jinchuriki. We, Kurabi roared, releasing a shock wave so powerful that it scattered dust and rocks everywhere. Naruto brought an arm up in order to protect his face from the debris.
Incredible, his roar alone is powerful enough to cause this much damage. I might have to use more power than I first thought. Naruto thought as the dust settled. Killer B raised his arms in the air for a few seconds before bringing them down hard. The ground underneath them started to rumble, resulting in a crater spreading outwards.
Naruto looks down as he saw the earth under his feet cracks and leaps away as it rose up and exploded, revealing a pair of dark brown-red arms. Kirabi smirks in a creepy fashion as another arm sprouted from the right arm and descends toward him. Naruto lands on the ground and vanished as the extra arms hit the ground before it rises up again and tries to attack him in a repeated process. He then skids back while forming a yellow ball of ki in his right hand as the hand descends towards him. Naruto throws the energy ball at the hand, and when it made contact, a small explosion occurred, destroying the chakra arm. His senses went on high alert and dodged a horizontal slash to his chest and somersaults over Kurabi, who spins around and launches his 8 tails at the Saiyan. He evades several tail swipes and stabs with his impressive agility and reflexes before landing on the ground and leaping backwards several feet, surprising B. Don't think that running away will help you, Geki, he stated before charging at Naruto. Naruto on the other hand smirks. Who said I was running? He said as he turned around and got into an odd stance. He sways his arms around his body while he produces a blue flame-like aura, and then, he draws his hands out to his sides and closes them into fists as he crosses his arms on his chest. Let's see how you handle this thunder flash attack. Naruto draws his fists together in front of him and fires a huge storm of flames at the transformed ninja. Yugito's eyes widened when she watches the attack travel through the field, scorching the earth and grass with the heat alone. Killer Bee skids to a halt with a gobsmacked expression on his face as he saw the attack come upon him in T-grade accuracy. Holy shit, too late to dodge or counter. He screamed before he was engulfed by the attack. The flames shot outwards around the area before dissipating and leaving waves of smoke that rose from the area the Shade's wearing wrapper was at. When it cleared, it revealed Kurabi, who was sprawled out on the ground but with singes on his clothes and some burn marks on places like his arms, legs, etc. before his healing factor started to slowly heal him. Yugito's jaw hung downwards as she saw the damage the technique did not only to her uncle but to the surrounding area. Whoa, what an attack, she whispered in awe while Nibby nodded in her mindscape in agreement. Naruto on the other hand was impressed and watched Killer Bee slowly get back on his feet while healing and whistled lowly. Wow, this guy is resilient. From what I can tell, his cloak took at least half of the damage from the technique sensei taught me. If it were the other way, he'd be in serious trouble even with his Biju healing his body. He summarized, though in reality Naruto actually held back a lot on that technique because he didn't really want to damage to forest that was at the edge of the field. Goku on the other hand was impressed with how Naruto was able to control the Thunder Flash technique he learned from Pikkon to such a level, which proved that Naruto's control in his ki has improved a lot since their training in the hyperbolic time chamber. B got up panting slightly from the attack with a smile on his face. Despite how the fight was going, he helped but be thrilled to fight some who could actually make him fight more than he usually did. Hey, the Gaki's awesome. No one short of my brother has ever made me go this far, and that technique was off the chain. Were it not for version 2, I'd be in real pain. I can't believe he made you revert back in your current form with that technique. B, you're gonna need to fully transform if we want to actually get a decent hit on the tailed Gaki, and whatever you do, don't let him hit you with that move, otherwise you'll get roasted. Hachibi warned his vessel and got a mental nod from Killer Bee, who finally manages to fully heal.
Say no more, Ado, because the time for playing is over, yo. He cried out before turning his attention to Naruto, who was blinking in confusion as the man pointed to him with a grin on his face. Your victory I will negate. From his back, 8 tentacles slowly sprouted out and enlarged. With my transformation I will eradicate. His body started to shift and ripple before a cloud of smoke formed around. My true transformation will be your plight, as the power of the Hachibi will unleash its might. The smoke erupted outward, and when it cleared, it revealed the true form of the Hachibi, no Kyoji, 8-tailed gate ox.
The Biju had 4 long horns on its head, similar to that of a Jacob sheep. The lower left part of one of its horn was permanently sliced off in a battle with A and his father. It also has a muscular upper body structure, with a hunched back similar to an American bison, arms with spiked protrusions on the elbows, and hands with opposable thumbs like that of a human. It has no hind legs, but instead its lower half is made up of its tails, which consist of 8 tentacles that resemble the cephalopod arms of an octopus. Naruto gaped as he stared at the gargantuan form of the creature before him that snorted steam from its muzzle. It wasn't the size that got to him, it was the unbelievable amount of chakra this force of nature possessed. Kami, his chakra levels are unbelievable, the Sanbi doesn't even compare to this guy, he muttered before a smile filled with excitement and thrill formed on his lips.
Hey, Finchie, we see you.